Katie.
Hey Sarah.
It's wonderful to meet up with you again here in Vienna for another episode of Treffpunkt Klassik.
Thank you for joining me here today because we are going to a very special location.
And where is that?
That is a beautiful Baroque palace here in the middle of Vienna, which is called the Palais Lobkowitz. And it was actually visited many times by Beethoven himself, and he premiered a number of his works here.
There's also Palais Lobkowitz in Prague, I believe.
Yes, because the Lobkowitz family was actually one of the oldest noble families in Bohemia, and they had a big impact on Bohemian culture and were great lovers and supporters of music.
And who does it belong to now?
Now it belongs to the Vienna Kunsthistorisches Museum and houses the Theater Museum, having one of the largest collections in the area of theater in the world.
It's a pleasure to be here in Vienna today at the Palais Lobkowitz, and I would love to share some information about this exquisite hall that we are in right now.
Well, the Palais Lobkowitz in Vienna is a center of music history. It was bought by the Lobkowitz family in 1745, and especially at that time existing Prince Lobkowitz, I guess it was the seventh prince, made his Palais Lobkowitz to a center of excellence regarding arts and culture. He was, of course, very fond of music and had the idea of founding his own orchestra in order to provide musicians and enable musicians to use the orchestra for performances here in this hall where we are now sitting. He was one of the main dominators of Ludwig van Beethoven.
How did you meet Beethoven?
Well, Beethoven was introduced as a young person in Vienna to the Lobkowitz and to the family. Lobkowitz was the first person in Vienna who ordered a composition, I think a string quartet.
From
Beethoven. So he not only provided the musicians, especially Beethoven, with the orchestra, or he enabled him to use the orchestra, but he also gave, as we say, Kompositionsaufträge to the musician. But Beethoven was a person who was a genius in something which we today would call networking. He gave piano lessons, which helped him to make new connections.
Right.
And he was at that time able to have connections and to make connections in, of course, most of the aristocratic circles. Of course, he was people knew that he was tended to be a difficult person.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's the word called raptus, which I love, meaning that he had the idea of exploding sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in spite of his difficult personality, I guess he must have had a very good relationship to the Count Lobkowitz, because this support of Beethoven went on for an extremely long time, in fact, even past the Count's death.
Yeah.
So the two men must have actually had a very good understanding.
They had a good understanding, and it was it came the time when Beethoven had an offer to work as a musician in Germany, in Kassel. And when a aristocratic lady got the information on that, she decided to contact other aristocrats in order to provide Beethoven with exactly the same amount which he would have gotten in Kassel, and in order to make him stay in Vienna. This is the famous contract for a time, and again, it was Lobkowitz who paid quite a high amount beside the other two aristocrats.
And I guess through this contract, Beethoven more or less became one of the very first truly freelance musicians that was paid
Yeah,
to compose.
this was done to him, it was given to him the money to enable him to be a freelance musician.
And Count Lobkowitz, he was from a family of music lovers. His grandfather and his father were very influential in Czechoslovakia at the time, also setting up musical foundations, and so I guess this was natural for him. Was he a musician himself?
He was a musician too.
Okay. And so tell me, which works did Beethoven premiere here?
It was the Third Symphony, it was the Fourth Symphony, it was the Fourth Piano Concerto. Beethoven also dedicated a number of works to Lobkowitz.
That's right, the
Like
third, fourth, and fifth symphonies,
right.
and other works.
Yeah.
Well, he must have been extremely grateful to have such support.
Well, he depended on that up to a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, I think for musicians, probably in Beethoven's day, it was no different than musicians now. It's very difficult to make a career in music without support.
And the interesting thing is that his donors, again up to a certain point, accepted Beethoven's way of reacting to some situations. They knew how he would react, and they accepted that. And despite that fact, knowing how he is and could be, they helped him.
Well, I think probably he was such a musical genius, they were able to perhaps overlook his difficult character for the benefit of the incredible works that he could write. As far as this beautiful room that we are in, which is called the Saal, can you tell me a little bit about the beautiful frescoes that we see on this room?
The frescoes have been done by a Dutch painter called Ludwig van Beethoven, and at that time he was the head of the Academy of Fine Arts here in Vienna. It is meant to be glorification on the arts.
Okay, so what was a concert like in those days in a place
The hall
like this?
has been divided. The orchestra, of course, was smaller. The maximum had been 27 persons in the orchestra. So there was one room for the orchestra and the other room for the audience.
Okay.
From what I know, there haven't been concerts for a huge audience. Mostly the concerts have been for private purposes, for the Lobkowitz private purpose. And they were meant to give the musicians, the music writers, a chance to do some corrections after the performance.
They were essentially rehearsals.
Essentially rehearsals, but for a kind of.
And so this was probably also another opportunity for composers like Beethoven to be able to meet new supporters and patrons.
Exactly.
Well, I thank you very much for having the opportunity to do this interview, as well as for having had the opportunity to perform in this absolutely incredible room. And to be able to play Beethoven in here and imagine his spirit was a dream come true.